So yeah, I was at this time last year. I just split up with my girlfriend. It was partner and things. She got like a very underwear. Now that would make me depressed, and that would lead to drinking. And it was during this drink, it was like binge drinking for 4 days from the morning to night. And it was through that the social services became involved, concerning my ability to look after my 12-year-old son whilst in that state. And it was during like the ensuement of these meetings with social services, I kind of like got into some kind of discussions, shall we say, about esoteric things that were just outside of their sphere of awareness. So in their minds they thought that I must have been schizophrenic. So I said, well, I'll voluntarily take a psychological assessment to prove that I'm not schizophrenic. So the two previous psychologists that I spoke to, they both said, well, I can tell by sitting talking to you, you're not anxious, you don't seem depressed, you're definitely not schizophrenic. He said, as for these issues that you talk about, I'm in no position to comment whether they're true or not, because I just don't know. Which is an honest answer, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm hoping to do is to be helpful to you today. Sometimes we can do it all in one appointment. Sometimes it means meeting a couple of times really to come to conclusions. And at that point, we'll try to be clear with you really about what we can do to help, what advice we give you. So what I'll do at the end of today is tell you where we got to.
Right, that's
in
cool.
terms of our understanding. And we thought it was a good idea really anyway for Elaine and I to come together so that we don't have to repeat the same questions. Of you. So, in terms of where to start, I guess I want to get an idea about how things are now for you in life before we talk about the other things that of course we must talk about. Because I got the impression that the drink problem was behind you.
Yes, I've kind of moved out of that dark cloud area in my life. I no longer suffer from the depression of that. You know, time heals wounds and that depression goes.
Yeah.
That's the first time in my life I've ever really been depressed, you know. It always seems to be like a breakdown of a relationship that causes that, but it's just a temporary spell, and yeah, I'm through that, and the drinking is no longer a problem. It's been knocked on the head. Last thing I want to do when I get up in the morning is reach for a bottle of cider. You know what I mean? Coffee would do me.
Yeah. How's your son getting on now?
He's fine, mate. He's brilliant. Spot on. Everything's cool there. He seems to get a lot of detention, but I think that's because schools are getting ever more strict. Even when I was at school, I used to know some bad lads at school who didn't get detention 3 times a week. You know, but for some of the most trivial things, you know. I mean, there was one instance he'd gone in, he put his school trousers on in the morning because he's like a portly boy. He popped the button off in it so he couldn't wear them, he would fall down on his ankles. So he put on a pair of black tracksuit bottoms, either stay off school or just put on the nearest thing he could find. He went in with them, he got put in isolation the whole day. This is how strict schools are getting. You know, come on, kids, a lot of break, at least he came in. So it's all common purpose. And
Is that school just here? Yeah. Because what year is he in?
He's in his first year there, which I believe is year 7, he says.
Well, in terms of how he's getting along academically and his work and stuff, with parents' evenings and things like that, you getting some feedback from him?
Yeah, everything's pretty good there. He's saying that the only subject he's not really interested in is history. But to tell you the truth, when I was at school, that was the subject I was the least interested in, or at least shall we say, the academic version of history. You know, it's not necessarily the correct history.
Right. And the social workers who were involved at the outset when you had these difficulties, is there a social worker still seeing you?
Yes, there was one called from the beginning. She's now been moved on to other cases, and somebody else has come into this called Christine. I've got a card on it. Is that name from the name?
Could do, yeah, because then, you know, so you can feed back to them.
It's
And does she keep up regular contact with you and your son?
well, she's only recently became. It was a weekly, fortnightly thing. That's been going on for some months now. She could tell you the progress that's been made. Recently come in literally in the last 2 weeks, so I've seen her twice. And if she's fully up to speed on all the case notes that I've given her, she'll know that there's been a significant progress made from the outset of this.
And does your son as well as you?
Yes.
Yeah. And presumably that's something.
Yes. She'll be the one to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, from your point of view, what progress do you think can be made?
Well, the initial problem that was really the social services involvement was the drinking. That has been sorted. That has been sorted. Like attending this community alcohol team I'm involved with, and there's also another one, part of my probation order. I'm attending weekly. I'm just familiar with that, but that's quite good. You know, it's just good to go down there and kind of articulate things into tangible form. You know, I thought that necessarily like just in the back of your mind you can't quite put a finger on it, but you bring it out and think, yeah, then you can start to address things. It's yeah, it's pretty good. So the drinking is sorted, but from the psychological / psychiatric perspective, the reason that they thought I might have some kind of paranoid delusional condition was because of various esoteric subjects that I would discuss on a regular basis, which they just didn't understand, but they thought I was paranoid delusional.
And did they have specific concerns about what effect this would have on your son while you're caring for your son?
No, they did ask, do you sit and talk about these things with your son? I mean, when I say like esoteric subjects, I mean like, let's see now, so you say various Freemasonic shadow government, Freemasonic societies operating our society, and the shadow government, secret military projects, water fluoridation, chemtrails, manipulation of our food, water supply, mind control, there's the one. And all these kinds of subjects, including the vaccinations, the whole swine flu scam, the climate gate scam, you know, all of these things. And they do it, the 9/11 inside job, the fake war and terror, all this stuff. They would say, do you sit down and talk to this stuff about with your son? And I said, no, absolutely not. In his young, impressionable state of mind, I would never sit him down and give him this weight of this kind of knowledge, let him live his youthful life. But if he catches words here or two from there, if I'll start talking to somebody else, obviously he's going to pick up on bits here and there. Yeah. But I won't sit down and say, hey son, 9/11 was an inside job, you know, but he picks up on his own bits and bobs. He's not daft.
Yeah. Okay. And the topics that you're talking about, do you talk to other people about them, the people who share the same beliefs as you that you're in communication with?
Well, there are a few, but there aren't many. There aren't many people who either are able or choose to look at these kind of issues. They just don't see how it's relevant to their lives. It actually affects them in every way, but they're not aware of it. So some people, they just laugh it off. Other people can get quite hostile. They try to discuss these things with them. But for the most part, there's just no getting through to them. But there are a few people who are slowly starting to awaken to all the things that are happening. You know, Eugenics. I'm sure you've heard of that in the field of psychiatry. I believe psychiatry started Eugenics. I actually watched a film the other day. It was called Psychiatry, an Industry of Death. Very interesting DVD if you haven't seen it. It's showing the history of the field of psychiatry, how brutal and barbaric it actually was in the original days. And how they were explaining how psychiatrists use a book called, I believe it's the DSM, and that how the psychiatrists who continually come up with new psychological conditions to put into this book have close vested financial interest with the pharmaceutical corporations who provide the drugs for the treatment. And sometimes the bonuses they get from entering these conditions to get more business for the pharmaceutical companies, sometimes the bonuses they get for doing that is greater than the salary. So you can see the kind of conflict of interests that's at play in this kind of. So I hope. In fact, it was actually after watching this DVD that I signed up to be a voluntary member of the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, because I was so appalled at what I saw on that DVD. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of that. Citizens Commission on Human Rights. Trying to basically seek out any misdiagnoses, or there are some people who, speaking about these kind of various esoteric issues, it was a conspirational, conspiracy facts, who have been involuntarily committed for speaking out about them. You mentioned certain keywords like New World Order, for example, and they've just been committed for it. So that is a breach of somebody's human rights by corruption and abuse of power in the field.